Imagine you are waking up in the morning with the sun's rays falling on your face. The air is fresher, don't you think? Now, let me tell you the setting where this is happening. About 200 years ago, in some random village in India, where there's a river nearby and it's your average rural environment. You wake up with fresh air without a fan or an AC because your house is made of materials that naturally adjust to the weather and make you feel cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter. You wake up and go about your personal tasks and you use locally sourced tooth powder to brush your teeth. While taking a bath, your water is from the river and you use natural products like soap nuts, turmeric, and sigakai to wash your body. When you're cooking, you use locally sourced products like local vegetables and your food is cooked in a mud pot. As the day goes on, you go outside and socialize with your neighbors and just bask in the nature. After that, you come home and you sit down on your sewing machine to fix the clothes that have been caused worn and tear. What is something you notice about this lifestyle? The lifestyle has been connected with nature in a way that today's lifestyle is distant from it. Now, let us compare this to today's modern sustainable lifestyle. The modern sustainable person does everything they can to make sure they're making better choices for the environment. They use solar energy, they drive electric vehicles, they refuse to get a paper straw even though it will get soggy, and they carry a stainless steel one around. They always collect their waste and take it to the respective authorities to recycle it and make sure not to overbuy anything and always go for thrifted or old clothes. They also carry their own bags to every store and never get a paper or plastic cover to buy their groceries. But you can't deny that somehow the person who didn't consciously think to be more sustainable was having a lesser carbon footprint than the person who knows to be sustainable today. So, how is it that our ancestors who didn't consciously make sustainable choices instinctively know that they had to live together with nature? We all know literature reflects life, and I would like to cite some things that our culture, Tamil culture, had written in Sangam literature. If you had paid attention in lower grades, there are 5 types of land that the Tamil continent was divided into. It's called the 5 Tines. It starts from the coastal areas till the mountains. It's called the coastal, plains, desert, and the mountain regions. All of these had their own occupations and own gods. From this, we can see that the people adjusted to how nature was around them and reacted accordingly. One unique thing about Sangam literature is that the characters that were there in those stories always reflected their emotions onto the literature. For each place, there was a part of emotion involved. In the desert, it was a feeling of barrenness, and in the plains, there was a feeling of happiness and abundance. So, I think this is a great example of how close human and nature was. We all know when we feel connected to something, we feel the need to protect it. We've all read poems in our English class about the beauty of nature. Robert Louis Stevenson, the famous English poet, has written so many poems about nature. How could he feel the beauty of nature and write it without feeling some sort of awe for it? So we can conclude from this that people before have always been connected to nature, and where there is connection, there is a need for protection. But these days, we don't see that. We live in rooms and we work in offices where there is not a direct connection between human and nature. How did our ancestors, always being connected to nature, also know how to protect it? Now, doesn't the question change from how do we be more sustainable to why did we forget what sustainability was in the first place? Now, we can actually see that there are many reasons that are contributing to these factors, and I'll be talking about them now. The first one today that is so prevalent is consumerism. Consumerism is defined as when you buy something when you don't need it, but because you wanted it. Today, consumerism has been overpopularized by social media, where something is trending every other week. And those products are mass produced in a way that directly harms the environment. And since we get it for a cheap price and we get to show it off to our friends, we always get it. Humans have always been wanting to show that they have been better than others and they're on the trend. So, it is a way our human psychology is being exploited by the people who want to be business and get more profit. This culture needs to be stopped because it negatively impacts the environment in a lot of ways that we don't see, but our future generations will be seeing. Another thing is urbanization. So, when people started getting urbanized and started moving to cities, obviously the number of people living together started increasing. We all know how mob psychology works, right? When somebody does something, we feel the need to do it again. That is why when you see somebody dumping trash on the roadside, the next day the site turns into a full trash place. This also needs to be stopped because when one person's decisions can affect everybody around them, it is very important that you are conscious of your own decisions. Also, in cities, there is an overconsumption of fossil fuels, which breaks circular economy. Circular economy is when, as some previous people have said, when we take something and we don't give an equal amount of contribution back to it. So we all know that fossil fuels are in fact going to extinguish soon. And when we keep using and using and using fossil fuels, just because they are convenient, you're causing so much pollution to the environment while just thinking about ourselves. Another thing, we all feel that how do our choices matter for the environment anyway? How is that one thing I am going to do impact the world in a better place when there are so many billionaires and rich people who treat even us like a second thought? We see so many people throwing huge weddings that cause so much waste, and we see people taking their private jets for a flight when they could have gone by a 2-hour drive. So we feel like, how does my carbon footprint even impact the environment? But something that we fail to realize is that when people say the top percent of the population is what causes the most emissions, that we, all the urban people, are included in that population. There are more people than we realize in the top percent of the world because as we go to different countries, the social structure is very different and there are a considerable amount of people living in tribal societies even now. There are a lot of examples in this, even around us in India, where there are people who have been cut off from human civilization and have their own cultural practices. When we go see the tribes living in islands around us, we see that they live together with nature and they don't have a concept of any of this consumerism and urbanization we have today. Another thing is consequence versus convenience. In today's world, you can say that this is the convenience era. You can give a prompt to your AI and it's going to give you an answer immediately. Have you ever noticed that when you're trying to generate an image on ChatGPT, it says the system is getting overloaded, so you have to wait for some time. Sometimes the picture gets generated immediately, but sometimes it takes like at least 10 minutes. So what does that tell you? There are billions of people using ChatGPT at the same time. And for each picture generated, gallons of water get used in the huge factories that are set up in other countries. AI alone has started using so much of the water reserve because that much coolant is needed to create so much calculations that are what give us the results. When we make one simple decision, our environment gets impacted in a way that geometric progression up to 1,000 times. So, I would like to say that whenever we make some choices, we have to understand that there are a lot of consequences we don't think about, and it's very important that you think about. How did so another thing is that when we make certain choices, we're also influencing the people around us, and our governments and leaders should make sure to remember our past and so that we can reflect on them and make better choices for the future. I would like to conclude by citing something from our literature, Tirukkural. which was written 2000 years ago, but somehow till today it has been morally relevant. There's a Qural that says, even the wealth of the vast ocean will vanish if the rain doesn't fall from the clouds that gets evaporated. So, in this analogy, nature is the ocean, we are the clouds. We are all made of water and we are the same. But when we start taking again and again and again from nature without giving it back anything in the form of rain, even nature will run out. And we can never let that happen. And so be conscious of our choices. Our ancestors practiced sustainability because they had to, and it was their way of survival. And we have to practice sustainability by only choosing what we need and making better choices every day. Thank you.